What's up everyone, thanks for joining us here today on the VSO Gun Channel. Today's topic is on draw sequencing and how to get it right. I'm sure that this one will draw fire because there are several schools of thought on this particular discipline. Frankly, this one drives me a little nuts because I see it all the time from people trying to look cool on Instagram. I'm not trying to say that there aren't competent shooters on the gram, but you can make anything look good for a few seconds. That said, I really had no reason to touch this one because I didn't have a good example of it up until recently. Because, you know, at VSO we do this 100% right 100% of the time. We were actually out testing some new holsters and I just so happened to be running video for no good reason. I'm that guy with the camera if you can't tell. Anyway, I captured a few sequences of Spangerish rushing it a little bit, and I thought it would be a good teachable moment for the gun community as a whole. That said, let's start with the criteria of a good draw. There are many advanced situation-specific tactics that can lend advantage in a lethal force encounter.
Threat! Stop!
This video would be an hour long if we tried to be all-inclusive, so we're going to keep it to the standard known threat flat range draw. Perhaps we will break down other techniques in other videos if you guys are interested. Not getting super technical for the sake of brevity, step 1, expose the firearm to ensure that you get a good purchase on it and that your cover isn't going to get in the way of any of the subsequent steps. 2, take a high, tight grip, smashing the web of your hand into the backstrap. The backstrap should move the meat of your hand out of the way and allow the slide to operate freely without biting you. The fingers indexed into a position that is anatomically separate from the trigger location. Step 3, the gun is extracted and brought to the height that the mobility of the shoulder joint allows. By the end of this step, the gun should be rolled to the threat direction. 4, the press or lockout may begin, and/or a two-handed grip may be elected for stability. 5, the muzzle covers the target. This is most commonly associated with visually acquiring the sights. 6, the finger goes to the trigger. 7, the fire command is given to the pistol. Okay, so what does this look like? Clear and cover is non-applicable for this one because it's an OWB holster. High and tight grip, finger indexed. Gun is extracted to the point of shoulder impingement, has been rotated to the threat direction, and you can see that I have begun to cheat the gun forward in the press while simultaneously bringing my second hand up. If you're going to do this, the second hand must be slow to prevent possible injury. Notice the finger is still indexed at this point. It's here that I start to look for the front sight, and once I have it, the finger will migrate to the trigger. Once it's there, I have one final stop before an irreversible decision is made. I missed one, but dude, I need one of these, cause like, hey Doc, you gotta shoot this thing.
Yeah,
you gotta shoot. Alright, it's fast. It's really. I see why you wanted a holster so that you could use this more, because like
makes sense now.
The sight radius for one, and because there's all this extra like empty with nothing in it, the gun is kind of front heavy, so there's like no flip, so you don't have to really fight the recoil back down, you know, because it's already kind of done for you.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you squeeze it, the gun goes right back down, and it's like, whoo, buddy.
Makes a bad shot look a little bit better.
Now let's take a look at the sequence in question and critique Spangerish a little bit. So we got the high tight grip, the index, and the impingement right, but he's a little bit out of position, which is going to cause a lot of bowl in his stroke rather than press. This is not a huge deal, but efficiency of movement will suffer a little bit. Just a quick pointer there. Now we come to the rush and sequencing that I'm talking about. He has gone to the trigger before the muzzle covers the target. We can what if the consequences of this all day, but I will leave it for you guys to debate in the comments. Just remember that the act of drawing a gun and the act of shooting a gun are two distinct, separate actions that have their own real-world physical, emotional, and legal consequences. This has been my look at the fundamentals of the draw stroke, and just like the rest of the fundamentals of shooting, these can be throttled in either direction to achieve the desired effect on the spectrum of speed versus perfection.
Threat!
All done. However, we should be cognizant that in the rush to seek validation on Instagram, we cannot compromise those fundamentals or risk harm to ourselves and those around us should the unfortunate circumstances of preservation of life or liberty come to our day. Let's roll the tape. That 17L, like, like it doesn't move at all.
It's my favorite handgun.
Dude, that is, I have to admit, I like the way I saw it run. I don't know if it was a function of you running it.
Probably not, no.
But I may actually steal that from you.
Yeah, you're gonna have to try it.
For a few mags, because it looked like it was running smooth.
It's wonderful.
Little NSR going on there with the open bottom. Normally they're resistant to do open bottom, but you know, I mean, 17L is.
You kind of have to.
Spangrish.
Hi. We got two different NSR holsters, and we're doing this to show why I had to have him make me one of these. So this one is made for a 34, a Glock 34, right? And of course I didn't bring it with me today, but I've got my 17L with me today.
So much gun.
It's so much gun. Lots and lots of gun. But anyway, so the reason why it doesn't fit is because on their 34 holster, and I even tried to stretch it out there a little bit, so if you buy one of these, it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, it looks like you failed.
Yeah, I failed miserably. So don't worry, it's not going to look crappy like that. I did that. But anyway, as you can see, no dice.
Just a little bit too narrow. And they do that to keep it from, like, you know, from the barrel, like, jabbing into the ground or
yeah, no, and
collecting
totally,
debris. And
it totally makes sense. And if I was a smart person, I would have had the 34 to show you. And it's super tactical camo green. But it's open.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit miffed about that, because whenever I give, like, Dave creative freedom on, he's like, what color do you want? And I say, yeah, creative freedom. He sends me like a gray one, right? And whenever you ask for one, he sends you like a nice one.
Yeah, it is cool. I really like it.
I thought I liked this holster. It's practical, but the one thing about this holster that this one has better is I can tuck my shirt in, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm usually wearing Dockers and a polo or something like that, and I'm kind of hindered by this thing because I can't tuck my shirt in, or you're going to see the whole gun. You know, this thing, look at there.
Yeah. So pull it out of there so they can see it. Here, let me see this. That retention.
Safety first.
Yeah.
How'd you do that? Now, aside from the retention, but the ability to tuck in my shirt with this NSR holster is where it's at.
Now, the other thing I noticed kind of is if we rotate this, this is completely exposed versus slightly shrouded. So your magazine release can inadvertently actuate there.
This is really functional for sure.
And it's pretty.
It is pretty. Yeah. But man, I gotta have one of these.
Well, it's actually the Mud Girl's holster.
Yeah.
So she's obviously female, right? So she, you know, the biggest problem, like when most holster manufacturers go to make female holsters, is you can't just paint it pink and call it a girl's holster.
Right.
Like,
and that's what most of them do.
well, so like with men, we have like pants, shorts, shirts, button downs.
Right.
Right. That's pretty much, I mean, maybe a suit. We don't have that many combinations of clothing that we wear.
No.
Think about all the different combinations of clothing that women wear, and you need something that's a little bit more versatile, especially when you're talking about, you know, form-fitting clothing and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, you got a good point. Like with guys, it's either a t-shirt or a collar, long sleeve or short sleeve. That's pretty much your options.
here, put that back on. Take your other mags.
I actually have one mag left, so I'm gonna have to do a mag change because I have an empty gun holstered. Shame.
Gun.
Well, you know, we had to make it safe so we could talk to the folks at home.
Fight!
Oh, that was dumb.
Move your feet.
All right, give me a threat. Help! 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 That threat?